This basil smells like summer.
That's right. Basil straight from our garden that we're going to turn into the best pesto that you've ever had. Stick with us, and we're going to show you how. All right, so most of you know what pesto is. Basil, a little bit of cheese, oil, some pine nuts, garlic, a little bit of lemon, and some salt. Very, very simple. It has Italian roots. It began actually as a sauce that was made in a mortar and pestle, and that's actually kind of where the word pesto has come from. If you don't know what a mortar and pestle is, that's an earthenware kind of bowl with a club or something that looks similar to a club that you mash into each other and you slowly create a paste or pesto. So in this case today, we're going to simplify and modernize it just a little bit. We're going to be using our blender in the kitchen, and we're actually going to change some of the ingredients a little bit. So chef's tip that we're going to give you here is that pine nuts are really, really expensive. They are typically grown in the Mediterranean and warmer climates closer to the ocean, and that is typically why they are a little bit more expensive than other nuts, because they have a very specific climate that they like to grow in. Now, they also taste very unique. They do have some pininess to them. They're very, very oily, and they're actually, secret on my end, something that I don't particularly care for. I don't like the flavor nearly as much as some do. However, today we're going to change it up a little bit with some ingredients that we have in our pantry already that are staples in our household. And our secret ingredient today is going to be sunflower seeds. So we're going to switch our pine nuts with sunflower seeds today because they are going to offer much of the same toastiness. They're going to offer a lot of the same depth that we like. They're going to offer the same salt because they're going to be salted and seasoned. But they're a lot cheaper, a lot easier to get a hold of, and super, super tasty. Once we get going, because we are using a blender today, our pesto is going to come together in about 5 minutes as well. Xander,
Yeah?
let's go wash our hands. We're going to secure our cutting board. We're going to get in the kitchen. We'll see you there. All right, now that we've gotten into the kitchen, our hands are washed and our cutting board is secure. First step that we're going to do is get our blender set up. Now, most of the time we have used our food processing attachment for our Ninja blender. Today we're going to use the actual blender top because it allows us to add ingredients in as it's blending. It has a little spout on top that flips open while the blender's going. This will be an important step later, and we're going to show you why. All right, once our blender is set up, we're going to start the process here. So we need about 4 ounces of Parmesan cheese. We bought ourselves a little wedge. It's aged about 10 months, which is pretty typical. Feel free to use whatever cheese you'd like or you have. If you've got it pre-shredded, no biggie, go ahead and use that. We just buy it in the block and shred it as we need it at home. So we're going to cut about half of our wedge off, about 4 ounces, or about half a cup of shredded Parmesan. We're gonna let the blender do the work for us in this case. So we've just got a couple of little knobs of the parm that we're going to add into the blender here shortly. Once we have the parm ready, we're going to take 2 to 3 cloves of garlic that we've peeled, add those into our blender with the Parmesan chunks, and we're going to pulse that a couple of times. If you don't know what pulsing with a blender is, it's simply taking and pressing the button, power button, and letting the blender run and letting go, letting it run for a couple of seconds, letting it go. And this helps start to break down the bigger chunks of food instead of turning it into a paste. Once that's broken down, we're going to add our fresh basil that we went out and picked in the garden. Add about 2 cups of the leaves. We're not going to use the stems this time. I know we talk a lot about using the stems on our herbs. However, the basil can get really bitter, and our sunflower seeds. Again, if you're looking for the recipe is going to be fully in the description. That way you can screenshot that and use it as you need. Once our basil and our sunflower seeds are in the blender, we're going to pulse that a couple of more times. We want to start to break everything down and incorporate it together with the blades inside of the blender. Once those have been pulsed together, this is where we need the blender top that allows us to put ingredients in while it's going. We're going to stream our oil in. So in other words, we're going to pour it in slowly So there's a steady stream like what Xander did in our mayonnaise episode.
I love mayonnaise.
So do I. So just like that, we're going to start streaming our oil in while the blender is on. This will allow the oil to start to coat everything and begin to emulsify the actual pesto with the proteins from the cheese. This is also going to start to encapsulate or completely coat all of the leaves as they get ground down and pureed into the pesto. And this is a really important chef's secret step here, so that way our pesto doesn't turn brown immediately.
That will make it from, ooh, I want it, to, ew, I do not want to taste that.
Exactly, Xander. This is where you separate a home cook from a professional chef. Basil is one of the most tender herbs that we'll use, and it has the highest chance to turn brown. That is oxidation. So once you open up the chlorophyll with a blade, a knife, a blender, if you smash it inside a mortar and pestle, that opens it up to the oxygen in the air, and that starts to brown. Same reason why an apple turns brown when you cut it. Basil does the same thing. So if we coat the basil in oil, keeps it from reacting and oxidizing. This will also protect it from acidity when we add our lemon. Now, if you add lemon to green things, it turns them brown. It does the same type of thing. So again, keeping our pesto super vibrant, bright green is our goal. And also keep it lasting longer in the fridge for further use down the road. Once you've streamed all your oil in, this is the time where we're going to check our seasoning. Now, we've been waiting to add salt up until this point for two main reasons. Xander, do you know what those two reasons are?
It's because our cheese was salted and our sunflower seeds were salted too.
Exactly. Parmesan cheese has a good amount of salt in it for the process of making cheese. And then our sunflower seeds that we were using were pre-salted and pre-roasted. So being that we've added both of those in, we didn't have control over those two things. So now we're going to take back control, and now we're going to add our citrus. This is going to help balance the sauce. So we're going to add the zest of our whole lemon here, and then we're going to start by just juicing half of our lemon. Buzz that in, taste it, and see what you want. If that's good, leave it there. If you want a little bit more, add that other half. We like ours pretty zippy, so we're going to add both halves of our lemon for a total of, what's a half plus a half?
A whole.
Exactly. So we're going to add a whole lemon worth of juice and zest. Once that's all mixed together, seasoned to the way you like it, it's ready to go. Because we've used our chef's secret step here of adding our lemon and citrus last, plus encapsulating our basil with oil, this should keep in our refrigerator for 7 days before it starts to turn brown and it's no longer any good. Now you have pesto in 5 minutes. Thanks for sticking around. Again, the recipe is in the description. Let us know what you used your pesto for, and let us know also if you change up your ingredients. That's the cool thing about pesto. It is the method of the sauce, traditionally with the ingredients that we showed you, except for those pine nuts. But you can make pesto with just about anything. If you want to change the basil and make a parsley and chive pesto, you can do that. You can change the type of cheese that you add. You can change the citrus that you add. You can even change the type of nut. I've made apple and walnut pesto with basil and kale. I've made arugula pesto with pistachios and lime. It's really fun to experiment, and we love to hear about you, our sous chefs, what you're experimenting with. If you want to see other episodes with different sauces or different variations, or challenge Xander and I to make 10 pestos for an episode, let us know. We cannot wait to play around with all the different things you have for us. We look forward to meeting you in those comments. We can't wait to see what you guys are doing in your own home kitchens. In the meantime, thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing.
Hit the bell notification.
Exactly. Hit that bell notification so that way you're the first to get the episodes as they pop up. Till the next one, we'll see you.
Bye.
Stick with us. I'm going to show you how.
You're
All right,
gonna turn it into
Dad messed up his line. Okay.
That's funny how you're gonna turn it into
I messed up.
basil.